This is Weirdly Enough, your regular podcast for strange stories and amazing facts, delivered straight to your favorite podcast directory and at weirdlyenough.com. Now, here are your hosts, Andy and Len.
Oh ho 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 ho, we're getting closer and closer to Christmas, and I'm doing my oh ho 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 voice. I'm Andy Kane, and I'm joined by my radio colleague and podcast co-conspirator Len Johnson. How's things, Len? Had a good week this week?
Never better, yes. It's been a strange couple of weeks, hasn't it?
It's been emotional, as they say.
Yes, yeah.
A film that I haven't seen for a long time, probably nearly 20 years, Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels. I watched that at the weekend. Or last week there, and yeah, that's actually a really good film. I forgot how good that was. Anyway, I'm going off at a tangent. This is the Weirdly Enough podcast. Remember, you can get in touch with us. Podcast at weirdlyenough.com is our email address. We have a website, weirdlyenough.com, where you can find out how to listen to us. There's lots of different podcast directories and things on there. You can subscribe to us. Please do subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and then you will get the most latest episode. I don't know what I'm saying here, but the latest episode when it hits. It's usually on Monday morning, and then we have our weird shorts every Friday. So subscribe to that to get your bite-sized shorts just before the weekend, and then after the weekend, it's the full podcast.
I've been thinking about your engagement with our audience.
Yes, okay.
I think what we need
Socials.
to do is we need to create the idea of a posse of followers.
Oh, we do have a posse of followers.
But they need a name.
Okay.
It's like, you know the way Lady Gaga has Little Monsters?
Well, what would we call ours then?
I've got the perfect name.
What's that?
The Weird Bunch.
The Weird Bunch, yeah.
You know how you got like the Wild Bunch, the Weird Bunch?
Weird Bunch, yeah.
Kind of, it rolls off the tongue. And
That's a good way to describe people that listen to this.
We could have merch, like hoodies, like the way the young people are on the hoodies these days.
What is it with you and merch? I spent the whole half hour once looking for places that sell merch and decided to give up.
No, it's
but I think
see, right, you know the way Americans are successful
yeah.
at promoting stuff, yeah?
Okay.
Wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
Right, well, I would, are we allowed to mention the name of another podcast?
Yeah, why not? It's not the BBC.
Right, well, there's a really good one I'm into called The Higher Side Chats.
Okay.
And
right.
being Americans, they have a big thing about merch.
Are they Americans?
And they're always going on about hoodies and grinders.
Right.
Whatever a grinder is. What is a grinder?
Is it not that app thing?
No, that's for if you want to meet a new chum.
Yes.
And no, it's not that. I think it's some sort of. I have to find out. But yeah, they could have merch. Can you imagine like the Weird Bunch hoodies?
Weird Bunch.
Because right,
merch.
you know the way the young people they hang around skate parks and they go to discotheques.
Do they? Right.
And they wear hoodies.
Okay.
Or so I'm told. That's what young people do.
Yeah. And long sleeve t-shirts.
Long sleeve t-shirts. Yeah. And that you could, because they'll be listening to all the new bands like Nirvana and all that.
Smashing Pumpkins and all.
Smashing Pumpkins.
Great.
And the Barn Knights and stuff, all the new bands like.
So today, what's it all about then?
Well, do you ever fancy going to land down under?
Australia.
To pit a shrimp in the barbie?
I would, yes. I would fancy visiting there. But I remember Jonathan Ross saying, it would be nice to visit Australia, but why would you when America's so much closer?
I've always had a fascination with Australia because, whenever I was a kid, I remember, Scott and Charlene. And I remember, Crocodile Dundee.
It's very...
And Mad Max and all that.
In a lot of ways, Australia is very similar to Britain.
Yes.
And to England, but very different at the same time.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see that. They're very into our television, where Americans really aren't. Americans need to remake a British show, like Ghosts has been remade for American audience.
I mean, I was a child of the 80s, so Australia was big.
Yeah. In
the 80s, and you had the Australian bands like NXS and that one, Men at Work. One, and then Mental As Anything. That crops up and all the. Anyway, I'm going off.
I'm a massive fan of Cold Chisel. Have you heard of Cold Chisel? Cold Chisel are great. Their lead singer was originally from Glasgow and he emigrated out there. A guy called Jimmy Barnes.
That's like Men at Work, because their lead singer was from like Cumbernauld originally, but he emigrated to Australia.
AC/DC, of course, as well.
Yeah. And here's a good obscure Australian band, Midnight Oil.
Oh yeah,
they're actually pretty cool. Yeah, they did that one about but I can't remember the lyrics, but it was good. Anyway,
I would listen to Gold FM coming out of Melbourne quite a bit, and they have an awful lot of that Aussie pub rock.
Yeah, it used to be a bit of a...
It's not just
thing,
NXS, but there's piles and piles of like Aussie pub rock.
Yeah.
Anyway, yes, why are we talking about Australia, you might ask?
Well, basically, there is a conspiracy theory or a meme doing the rounds that Australia does not actually exist.
I used to think there were memes. I didn't know how to say it at first when I saw the word meme, but it's meme?
It's meme, yeah.
Meme.
Or it could be used if you're talking about in a sort of collective sense. It's like mimetic.
Yeah.
You know, so you could use like mimetic. Anyway, we're getting off topic here. But yeah, basically back in 2006, the Flat Earth Society started in their forums and whatnot, started exploring the idea that Australia does not actually exist.
Is the Flat Earth, I don't know much about the Flat Earth Society. Are they a global organisation?
I believe they're global. Yeah.
Okay, right. That's nice.
Which is nice.
It's spread out around the globe.
Now, it didn't really take off on the public consciousness much until more recently. There was on a Swedish Facebook user called Shrigley Floyd. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. It's not like Pink Floyd. It's
There's an extra letter in there, isn't
it's FLORYD. And initially I thought I'd made a mistake, but I double checked that is how you actually spell it.
I would just say Floyd.
Aye, it's probably easier now. Whose expose attracted more than 20,000 social media shares. Now, initially, I think this person's actually a bit of a prankster or a joker. Some sort of strange kind of Swedish humour.
Yeah.
But basically, she reckoned it was one of the biggest hoaxes ever created. Now, basically, the idea is that Britain invented... It's a bit sinister, actually, when you think about it. In the 18th century, Britain invented Australia as an excuse to basically kill tens of thousands of prisoners.
All right, they said they were taking them off somewhere.
They said they were taking them off for like labour and the colonies, but actually they were doing them in.
They just sank the ship. In the English Channel somewhere, right? Okay.
And apparently it's a wide-ranging conspiracy theory now, and there's loads of people in the prank, and apparently loads of airline pilots are involved in this.
Okay.
So I don't even know how this works, but it sounds a bit like a real-life version of the Truman Show.
Yeah.
So say for Toxic, you want to go to Australia.
Yes.
So you go to Australia.
Okay.
But you're not really going to Australia. You're going to an island, they reckon, off the coast of South America.
Right.
So all the staff in the airport and on the plane are in on it.
Yeah.
And then whenever you go to these islands, everyone on it as an actor.
But it kind of
is. They're putting on an Australian accent.
It kind of is an island off the coast of South America, if you think about it,
I suppose so, yeah.
A big island.
A very big one, yeah.
But the thing is, if you were a tourist and you arrived on this island and you decided to do a road trip.
Yeah.
And you decided to, say, drive from, Sydney to Perth, the ruse is going to be up because you'll come off the end of the island.
It's a bit of a flaw in the plan.
Yeah.
Now, the problem is, right, do you know any Australians?
I don't think so. Well, yeah, kind of, yeah.
I know one Australian person,
okay.
and she's from Queensland.
Right.
So, this is what I'm kind of wondering about. What if you knew people who were Australian, but according to this, they're actors.
Right, okay.
So they've deliberately sort of gone all over the world pretending to be Australian.
Australia.
But then there's another flaw in the plan that's not mentioned in this.
Right.
What about, say for Toxic, if one of us emigrated to Australia?
Yeah.
How would that work?
I know.
That's probably the biggest flaw in this.
I listen to Christian O'Connell's podcast sometimes.
Is he in on it?
He's, supposed to be in... He lives in Bayside in Melbourne.
But what if he's sitting in Milton Keynes?
Yeah,
and he's just making the whole thing up.
Yeah, he's been.
Is he been paid big dollars by them? The sacred unknowns to propagate the whole myth of imaginary Australia.
It might happen, yeah.
But yeah, it's a very strange thing. It was started in 2006, by one post on a Flat Earth Society forum. And on this post said, most of you have probably been brought up believing in the imaginary land called Australia. Well, the fact is that Australia doesn't really exist. Everything you've ever heard about it was made up, and any pictures of it you've seen were faked by the government.
Right.
I'm sure you've even talked to people on the internet who claim to be from Australia. They're really secret government agents. It's bizarre when you think about it, because if you know, like, I've known some Antipodeans in my time.
Yeah.
Both personally and casually. I mean, for a long time I used to buy sausage rolls from a corner shop. And sausage rolls magazines.
Yeah.
From a corner shop near my work, and there's a charming young man, used to be the manager, and he was from New Zealand.
Okay.
I don't know if New Zealand
No,
is part
New
of the
Zealand
conspiracy.
exists, look.
Right.
Because I've got here in front of me the fake world map versus real world map
Right.
meme.
Right.
It's from knowyourmeme.com. There's the fake world map with Australia, but look, there's New Zealand still in.
So New Zealand
yeah.
does exist, though.
Yeah.
So that's as a meme with maps.
So maybe that's
this is really interesting. Know your meme.
knowyourmeme.com.
We should check this out.
I just searched for Australia doesn't exist meme. And there you are. That comes there. But I saw another meme through the week on Twitter, and it was people looking at a globe.
Yeah.
And there was like a mystery island to the southwest of Australia, just this thing sitting there, and people are, what's that? Whoa. And it was obviously like, you know, the way you get little symbols on globes, like maybe from the manufacturer or something, or like a little crest or something on the globe. It was obviously something like that. It was like a design. People are, oh, there's an island they're not telling us about.
Very strange. But basically, yeah, the idea is that really they were basically drowning people who were supposedly going to the colonies. But like I said, it languished in obscurity, this thing, for a long, long time. It wasn't like a big thing. But obviously with Web 2.0 came along and social media became a thing. So this Swedish person started this on Facebook. She obviously discovered it and decided, oh, we'll just wind people up about it, you know.
Yeah.
Now, a bit of a response. She was deluged with ridicule from angry Australians.
Right.
And in fact, she got 100 or so death threats from angry Australians. So basically after that, she came out and says, like, chill out, I'm only joking.
Yeah.
And then, of course, she was getting a bit of grief from the flat earthers as well.
All right.
Who weren't too happy because they thought she was taking the mic. Which
Oh,
I suppose
yeah,
she was
can't
really,
do, about that, yeah.
But interestingly enough, it's not the only country that doesn't exist.
Right.
Allegedly. There's a very obscure one that is not really well known in the English speaking world, but it's a big deal in the German speaking countries. Called, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but it's called Bielefeld. Doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And basically Bielefeld it's a town in Germany, and it started basically in 1993, and they reckon it was the first kind of internet kind of meme of this nature, because it was popularised on, you know, the old Usenet bulletin boards,
right,
amongst sort of student types, you know. 1993, some students at the University of Kiel in Germany were having a party in a dormitory, and somebody happened to mention they were from Bielefeld, a small city known for being uninteresting.
Right.
Achim Held, who is today a computer scientist, recalls that one of his friends jokingly scoffed at the innocent statement and said that nobody could actually be from there.
Okay.
Because it was so obscure.
Yeah.
You know, it's about like it's like an interesting one. I'm just trying to think of a local example. Just trying to think here. Somewhere obscure. Shrigley, yeah.
Shrigley?
I have never been to Shrigley. I've never been through Shrigley. I've never met anybody from Shrigley. So I have my doubts about Shrigley's existence.
I'm in Shrigley every Friday.
But are you getting payoffs from them?
There might be, yeah. But
maybe
no,
you're one of them. Pretend that
I could drive you to Shrigley, although I don't want to, but yeah.
Say if you ever have a spare hour or two, could you do that? Because I'm yet to be convinced of the existence of Shrigley.
Do you know the Killaloe Castle?
No.
We're getting very local here, but there's a big kind of, it almost looks like Fairy Tale Castle in Killaloe. Yeah. If you drive up the road past that, You could actually walk from the castle. You walk up and you're in Shrigley. It would be about half a mile up the road.
What is this Fabled land like?
It's mainly a housing executive estate. A small housing executive estate, maybe 50 houses. There's a big war memorial. There's a factory. Used to be called Shrigley Mill.
Right.
They make plastics there.
Right.
That's about it.
And what does one do in Shrigley?
I don't think there's a shop or anything.
There's no shop.
There's a bus. The bus turns around the war memorial, and that's why you see all those Shrigley buses.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
the mythical land of Shrigley. Because I've always wondered. It's about like, do you remember the Lemmy show?
Yeah.
What was that place?
Yoker,
yeah. Shrigley's like my Yoker.
Yeah.
I've developed this kind of weird fascination with it over the years, you know.
Derry Boy was another one, and that you used to see buses to Derry Boy, DRYBOYE.
Yeah.
Do
you know what's a weird coincidence? Now that's weirdly enough.
Right.
I was waiting for you in a popular chain coffee shop.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And I was sitting waiting for my Americano. And I happened... No, actually, no, I tell a lie. I was in Stuart Miller's. Right, buying stationery and whatnot.
Okay. As you
and
do.
there was a youngish man, and I suppose in his late 30s.
Young man.
And a young boy. And there obviously it was a cold day, both wearing winter apparel. And the guy... The father was wearing a large, oversized beanie type woolly hat.
Okay.
And there's something written on it. And being a nosy so I was kind of cautiously kind of trying to work out what was written on it. And guess what? It was Derry Boy FC.
Derry Boy FC, yeah.
There's a
I
coincidence.
see there's a Derry Boy Pigeon Club as well.
There's
So
apparently a Derry Boy FC, according to this geyser's hand.
And Derry Boy is very near Shrigley.
Ah, right. This is a mythical. We'll have to go there sometime. It'll be like our El Dorado.
Yes.
You know, maybe we might find gold down there.
We could bring it up on Google Maps, but you probably wouldn't believe Google Maps.
Yeah, what you say, I know, but I mean, this is, you know, it's all part of the conspiracy on it, like, you know.
Right, yeah. But anyway, we're talking about this city in Germany. They actually brought out they're offering a prize of €1 million to anyone who can prove it doesn't exist. So if you can prove that the city of Bielefeld doesn't exist, you get €1 million. There's the prize. Is
that a picture of Bielefeld or?
Yeah.
Looks quite nice, actually.
That was back in August 2019, so pre-pandemic.
Looks quite. Oh, that's kind of.
Yeah.
It's like one of those kind of chocolate box, very clean.
There's the Market Square.
There's a friend of mine. He once took a tour of the Benelux countries and the Rhineland.
Right.
With a significant other.
The Low Countries.
And he said one of the things you always notice about these countries is you get out your dinner off the pavement. He says.
Yeah. I like that. I like that they take a bit of respect. But there's Shrigley, there's Shrigley Monument.
Oh, right. Yeah.
There's the plastics factory I was telling you about.
Right.
And there's where I go every week. So yeah, the boat doctor.
So Shrigley does exist.
Yeah, it would be about 50 houses.
Yeah.
Osborne Drive seems to make up most of it there. There you go. Cross guards between it's kind of up from Shrigley.
Very good.
Sorry.
Anyway, this guy Held and some of the same friends were in a car on the way to Essen, which is a massive city in Western Germany.
Yeah.
And saw that all the motorway exits to Bielefeld were closed.
Yeah.
And it was, they joked because they said, "Oh, there's the proof that it doesn't exist because you can't drive that."
Right.
So it's one of these sort of things they were just sort of joking about. You know, it's contrary to popular opinion, Germans do have a sense of humour. So Held went to Usenet, which for all the kids out there used to be a thing in the early days of the internet.
Yeah, and then it was called news groups. Usenet and news groups, I think, were the same thing.
That was the one, yeah. And they basically put a post saying that they, which is always written in all capitals, had created this. He said it's them, as I would call them, but they called them they. I created this false city, and they had even gone so far as to generate daily fake sports news about its football team, and produce car license plates with "BI" on them, BI. But again, it was one of these sort of stupid university pranks, But it became a whole big thing, and it's become a thing to this day. As in, look at the prize that they were offering for that, you know. So yeah, an earlier sort of thing is one called. There's always been a funny thing about Friesland. And apparently, the island of Friesland is a substantial island nation dotted with cities, ports, surrounding inlets, and even its own monarchy. It appeared on maps of the North Atlantic beginning in 1558, and it was included on maps for at least a century. But it did not actually exist. So this is kind of like the opposite kind of thing. It's one of these kind of ideas of, instead of a country or a place that exists, they deny it exists. This is the opposite.
Okay.
As in, it does not exist, but
they say it does.
But they say it does, there's been speculation that Friesland was an honest mistake stemming from misidentification of the southern part of Greenland, but a study into the 1558 maps offer put that speculation to rest. The map was made by Niccolo Zeno, a prominent Venetian who came from a family of explorers, and he was in Venice. People had been frustrated that discoveries of their own ships were being eclipsed by those of other nations. So basically, he made up an idea that his family were going on these historical voyages. So he included Friesland on this map. So yeah, it's an interesting one, and there's a big one. In medieval times, they always talked about the kingdom of Prester John.
Right. Okay.
And Prester John was supposedly a ruler of down sort of Ethiopia direction. He was like a Christian kind of monarch. And it was round about the times from Marco Polo, and people always talked about these kind of, expeditions to go and find the kingdom of Prester John, but it did not exist. Right. It was all completely fabricated, like, you know. So yeah, it's an interesting thing. So,
yeah, thanks for sharing that. Australia doesn't exist, or does it? I'll be back with our weekly installment of Weird Shorts. Hello everybody, you're listening to the Weirdly Enough podcast, and this is your weekly installment of Weird Shorts. So the first one is a 33-year-old model from Brazil. She decided to marry herself back in September of this year in a legally binding ceremony because she said she'd grown tired of men. Chris Galeria, she's a model from Sao Paulo, is now beginning proceedings to divorce herself, however, after she found someone special and has ended up falling in love despite a vow of celibacy. Photos of the model appeared back in September in Britain's Daily Star newspaper, showing her wearing a low-cut, revealing wedding dress. At the time, she said, "I want to highlight my best features, my breasts, so I wore a killer neckline," even though she was just marrying herself. But there you go. History didn't relate how Chris would be able to now divorce herself. However, it looks like love is finally in the air. So yeah, you get people marrying themselves, and now they can divorce themselves as well. Why not?
It's really century of the self, like, isn't it?
Everything's allowed, yes.
It's very narcissistic. Weaponized narcissism.
Yes, indeed. You have to love oneself. I like this story here. This is I was investigating a TikTok thing about a nightclub in Glasgow. They've taken the TikTok to show some of the strange items their staff find the patrons leave behind after a heavy night. The video showed staff from the Garage nightclub donning rubber gloves to explore the treasure trove of delights left behind by revellers. They include phone chargers. Where do you take your phone charger? Are they looking for a plug socket?
It's that baffles me.
A stash of passports. So not just one passport, a whole load of them. Because, that's my ID, I'll get it. But now I've got in, I don't need my passport anymore. I'll just throw it on the floor.
That's, strange.
A puffer jacket, which is alright, and jewellery. Stranger items include a bottle of perfume, a heavily damaged phone, and a deck of playing cards. Must be a bit boring for them. So they're, bringing something to entertain themselves.
I think that's explainable. And what is plausible? How about this scenario? Somebody went to the pub beforehand.
Yeah.
So they had a wee game of cards with their chums.
Yes.
Maybe found a bit of cash to make it more interesting, and then off to the club, and then just lost it in the club. That's kind of plausible.
Quick game of contact bridge or something.
Yeah.
Commenters in the video were quick to draw attention to the single shoe left behind, causing one commentator to ask why the owner wouldn't have realised the footwear had gone missing. Do you ever see that when you're driving along a road and like in the lay-by or in the side of the road, there's just one shoe, and it could be a trainer or a high heel or like a work boot, just one sitting there. You just think, how did that happen? And here we're talking about the mega spider. Here, estimates put the spider population of Australia at around 10,000 species, but only around 3,600 species have been discovered, with new ones getting found every year. Australia, that's if it exists, really isn't a great place if you're an arachnophobe, and anyone with a fear of creepy crawlies will probably run 1,000,000 miles from the Australia Reptile Park in New South Wales. The park is just taking delivery of what they describe as a mega spider. It's the largest species of funnel web spider that experts at the park have ever seen. It measures 3 inches long and has fangs so strong it can pierce the human fingernail. Oh. The spider was gifted to the park by an anonymous donor, and the park is keen to find out where she came from in the hope of finding other massive spiders. The park's education officer told CNN she is usually unusually large, and if we can get the public to hand in more spiders like her, it will only result in more lives being saved due to huge amounts of venom we produce. The park are going to milk the spider.
Oh, what?
They're going to milk the spider.
What do you mean? Sorry, I was listening, but what?
They're going to
milk the spider.
They're going to take venom out of it.
Oh, right, okay. You're not sort of going to stick it in a
milking machine
or something like that.
No, and they're going to send it to a pharmaceutical company that produces anti-venom, and they reckon it'll save over 300 lives.
No, it's fair enough.
With the anti-venom
well
program.
Done, good man.
And this was a scary one for me. Staying on the creepy crawly theme for a minute, do you remember as a kid you had irrational fears? Did you have any fears of things that were just crazy?
That's a good point.
One of them for me was electricity pylons, because you used to watch those education films. I think they were made in the 70s with kids flying kites near electricity pylons. They're like thousands of feet in the air. Why would you worry? But as you say, every time I saw one I thought, better not get fried on that. Also another one, the Bermuda Triangle. We thought, that's a scary place, that's really scary, things disappear. We should do a Weirdly Enough actually about the Bermuda Triangle and try and expose a few myths about that.
I did have one irrational fear when I was a kid, but I don't know if it was irrational as such, but it was unlikely.
Right.
I was worried about going on planes in case they were hijacked.
Yeah.
Because there was a whole in the 80s, 90s films and TV stuff about hijacking.
Yeah.
So I developed this fear of like being hijacked.
They were usually part of the Barter Meinhof gang or something.
So, you know what I mean? Maybe that's not that irrational. It's just sort of unlikely statistically. But
another one for me was scorpions. I have no idea why, because they're not common in Ireland. Well, this would have been me wetting my knickers at one time anyway. Heavy rain and dust storms and even snow in the Egyptian city of Al-Ahram recently have driven scorpions and snakes out, and this has resulted in over 450 people being injured and 3 deaths, according to an unnamed health official. Doctors who were giving COVID vaccines are on vacation and were called in to help treat the patients while residents in the city were asked to stay indoors. It's an Egyptian fat-tailed scorpion, particularly deadly apparently, and it's found throughout northern Africa. So there you go, just watch that one. Okay, we'll be back next week with more Weirdly Enough. That drops on Monday. What's it about, next week's episode?
Out of place artifacts, basically things that are found in very strange places, normally dated to be far too old than what they should be.
Excellent. I can't wait to hear that. That drops on Monday, so do subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. I was going to say wherever you get your passports. Wherever you get your podcasts, subscribe to Weirdly Enough and it'll drop ready for you first thing in the morning. You can get us on YouTube as well. Search for us on YouTube. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening to Weirdly Enough. Remember to subscribe to get the latest edition as soon as it drops. And don't forget to leave a review. Email us about anything we've discussed or with your own weird tale at podcast@weirdlyenough.com.